Everybody's choosy about something. It might be your favorite snack.
2 scoops of Rocky Road, please.
Your style.
Those earrings look amazing on you.
Or the things you like to do with your best friend. You can be choosy when it comes to getting a COVID-19 vaccine, too. If you're thinking about getting an updated vaccine, there's more than one type available. You can find out more at WeDoVaccines.com. This message was brought to you by Novavax.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast with the spotlight on section hikers.
And I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. You are listening to Jester Section Hiker, the premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers. And I'm your host, Julie Jester Gayhart. If you'll remember back to this summer, at the end of one of my episodes, I mentioned a weekend retreat I would be attending at the Woods Hole Hostel in Parisburg, Virginia. Well, this week's guest is going to give you some insight from that retreat and our first Woods Hole weekend that was held October 1st through the 4th. Section hiker Machelle Brown from Alabama, who was an attendee of the weekend, will share with us her insights and takeaways from the retreat. If you go to the Woods Hole website, you will see a couple of definitions that define this weekend. A weekend to help you prepare for a successful hike of the Appalachian Trail at an iconic trail stop. A weekend retreat of presentations and discussion for individuals considering a through hike or a long section hike of the AT. Before I get to my guest, I just want to let everybody know this was certainly a COVID-19 cautious event. I would like to thank all of the attendees that participated this weekend and my fellow panel members, Steve Mighty Blue Adams, Bruce RTK Matson, Clay Bonnyman Evans or Pony, Catherine Herndon Powell with the ATC, Julie, the owner of Weary Feet Hostel, Tina or Chunky, the owner of the Quarterway Inn, and of course, Neville, the owner of Woods Hole Hostel, our host and base camp for the weekend. Thanks for coming back for another episode, and now on to my chat with Machelle Brown. All right, guys, we are back, and what I'm going to do is actually set the stage for you for the person that I'm getting ready to chat with. Like I said in my intro, we are here at the Woods Hole weekend, the first weekend in October, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, I can't say this enough because you guys know me by now. When I really, really like something, I just emphasize how awesome something is, and we have had the best time here. We started off with a little hike on Thursday, and we've been at Woods Hole for the next 3 days, and it is Sunday morning, and I am literally up on the hill, maybe 25 or 30 yards from the Woods Hole cabin, and I am here with an individual I'm getting ready to talk to, and we are literally staring at a sunrise, a cloud inversion over the mountains, and I could not be happier. So let's get on with this interview. I introduce to you and welcome to the podcast, Machelle Brown. Welcome.
Thank you. I still have my morning voice because you got me up early this morning.
Hey, listen. So hikers get up early. I don't know. So here we are with Machelle, and this weekend is all about preparing for a through hike, a long section hike. And first of all, I just want to ask you, Machelle, tell us a little bit about yourself and what type of hiker you are.
Okay, so a handful of years ago, I went to New Zealand and hiked this hike and realized I was woefully unprepared. I had no idea what I was doing. So when I came back, I decided, I was talking to friends about it, and my friend says, well, why don't we do a little section of the Appalachian Trail and see how you do? So bought all the gear, got it all together, and we started hiking. And so we realized I am definitely a section hiker. Let's just like that.
Yay!
Very, very clear. After this weekend, there's a lot of thru hikers here, and I came here specifically to just hack off of what the thru hikers do on my short hikes. And so we started out at Springer Mountain with 9 people, and we ended with 3. So that's how that section went. We went to Neal's Gap, Springer to Neal's.
And that's about how many miles?
Oh, 30.
It's about 30 miles. 30 miles, I think.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So yeah, it was interesting. It weeded out the people who weren't going to continue on. So I was one of the 3. So we continued on, and we have actually done about 200 miles. We go in April and October. We take about a week or 2 off of work, and we're not in our 60s. We're women of a certain age.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
as Mighty Blue puts it. And so we take up some time and we hike in those times. I love April because of the thru hikers. We get to meet some amazing people. And then in October, it's a little bit quieter, and we usually hike whatever section. So we've gotten about 200 miles under our belt. So it's been great. But that's the kind of hiker I am. And as I've gotten those 200 miles, Jester and I were talking about it earlier with RTK, and I said I am definitely a 3 to 4 nighter, and that's all I got in me. And then I got to go get a shower. I need a bed. I need it. So section hiking works out very well for me.
So how did you hear about this weekend? And so tell us how you heard about this weekend and what your expectations were maybe, or what you thought this was going to be.
Yeah. So I heard it on Mighty Blue, and then he said to go to the Woods Hole website, which I guess you'll link later on. It's a wonderful place. And so I went to the Woods Hole website, and the information was on there, and then we were to email about that to Neville, and that's how I found out about it. I didn't really think much about the fact that I was a section hiker when I applied to come. I thought more of, I'm going to learn section hiking techniques from thru hikers. I guess I don't really know what I was really thinking. But then when I found out, Jester, that you were going to be here, I was all over it. I was like, oh yeah, I got a buddy there, so that's going to be good. So,
and then when Machelle showed up, I said, yes, we have a section hiker here.
And I walked right up on the porch and I said, I know who that is. Her voice. You were talking, you were interviewing or something. And so, yeah. And so then I realized how important it was to let section hikers know about this weekend, because I mean, thru hikers are small section hikers. They're long-term section hikers. They do 3 to 5 days, 5 to 7 days, just like we do. And then they have to restart again. So all of their things that they do apply to section hikers also. I think that's the case. So learn a lot from them.
Exactly. So we started off this weekend. We actually met Thursday, October the 1st, at Weary Feet. That's right. And Weary Feet Hostel, right outside of Bland, Virginia. And all kind of met as a group. And we did a little hike together up to Dismal Falls. It was about a 2.5 mile hike. And we actually spent the night at Dismal Falls. And some various things happened, and we all learned from each other. So, Machelle, give us your perspective of, getting to Weary Feet and then starting that hike.
Right. So Weary Feet's a beautiful place, and highly recommend it for people. Even there's a nice section hike, or from Woods Hole to Weary, right? 14,
yes, exactly.
14 miles or so?
It's about 16 miles in between Weary Feet and Woods Hole, which is an amazing section
hike. A great little
hike.
section, yeah, that you can do, and you can go hostel, or you can slack pack it. I'm sure it's a wonderful way to do that. Dismal Falls was great. It was perfect for someone who wants to just get their feet wet, literally, because it has a fall. And so we hiked in, and that was great because the perspective of all these interesting people. I mean, we were a motley crew, never met each other before. No one had met each other. No one was a couple. It was all, what 8 or 9 strangers?
Yeah.
Basically, of course, I knew you guys from podcasts, but yeah, but we all had these interesting different things that we did. We could tell Jester and I were section hikers because of the way we did our things, and we had another hiker who had the biggest pack I've ever seen. We called it the Green Monster, And he had everything but the kitchen sink in there. And then some people had never set up a tent before. So they were there to do all that stuff and had never really, I don't know, done whatever. But I will say a section hiker, me, stepped up. And I had my chair.
Yeah, and we were all jealous of that chair when we were around the fire that night.
There were 2 jagged little rocks that maybe a toddler's butt would fit on. And I whipped out my Helinox chair, and I was like, yeah, I'm sitting here. Everybody's on the ground. I felt kind of bad. Kind of bad. Just a little bit bad. Mighty Blue was like, how much does that hold? I was like, I don't think so.
And I think one of the things that we all learned from each other is that, for one night, you kind of throw your pack together, and
yes.
some of us were prepared. Some of us were not prepared, and some of us forgot things. And, somebody, Mighty Blue,
yes,
forgot his food bag, and he's
whole
probably
food bag.
going to talk about that.
And his headlamp.
And his poles, and
bless
and
him.
various things.
Oh, my
But
goodness.
there's one thing that we all did. As soon as Mighty Blue said, I forgot my food, what happened, Michelle?
Oh, we all stepped up and gave him our food. Everybody was like, you want some oatmeal? You want a cracker? You want this? You want that? Everybody's literally throwing food at the poor guy. And he's like, oh, hang on a second. And so he had plenty of food there because we all had, packed enough food.
Yeah,
I
we
guess.
packed enough food,
Yeah.
and
more food than we probably
more
all
food
needed.
than we needed.
Yeah.
And we also had Catherine with the ATC.
Oh, yeah.
She manages she manages several 100 miles of trail. I can't remember right now, in Virginia. And she came and went over the 7 leave no trace principles with us.
You're not going to make me recite those, are you?
No, I'm not. I don't know. I don't have them
like-
memorized.
Yeah, I feel like she was doing a great presentation. I knew those 7 things just intuitively because, you hiked and you want to clean up a campsite when you see a messy campsite and all this kind of stuff. But her to go over the reasons behind it was really effective, I think. And RTK would stop every, half mile or so and explain what this box was. It was a sign-in box. And this is what happens when you walk up this rock and watch it. So he did a really good job and asked any questions as we were hiking along. Just, I guess, 2.5 miles, something like that. And he did a really good job of, we all stayed in it together and hiked our own paces together. And it was nice. It was a good, that's a great intro for anyone. I don't care if you're through hiking or thinking about through hiking or section hiking or thinking about section hiking to do something like that. It's almost like a shakedown hike for sure.
It was great. Or even platinum blazing the trail. And we'll get into that a little bit. So, and I'm just kind of taking us through the timeline, which seems to be kind of the best thing to do. So Friday morning, we got up, we packed up, and we came back down to Weary Feet. We all kind of, threw stuff in our cars, and then we caravanned, not that far, maybe a 30-minute drive over to the amazing Woods Hole Hostel on the trail. It is around the 600-mile point. It is about 10 miles south of Perrysburg, Virginia, or Parisburg, Virginia. And when we got to Woods Hole, we all kind of settled in, and everybody figured out where they were going to stay. And then we started, I would call them campfire chats.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, in your mind, over the last couple of days, what are some things, kind of that the panel talked about, and what are some things maybe that you learned? I know we talked about making decisions on how you're going to do your hike. We also did some pack shakedowns maybe you want to talk about. So, in your mind, what maybe was the best piece of information that you heard, and maybe some things that you might change?
Yeah. So RTK did a great job with the itinerary, but he was very flexible with the itinerary because I feel like some subjects need more time. And if you just say, we got 2 hours for this, and it takes 2 hours and 30 minutes to get it through, because when you have 10 people sitting around and then 4 presenters with great ideas, you tend to want to hear more. It's like, let's not stop. Let's keep going. Let's hear some more information. But I feel like specifically when I go home, I took a ton of notes, and I think a lot of gear stuff, because that's a lot of questions. I think for us is we're always trying to shave ounces. And Pony Clay Bonneman, he was here, and boy, some insights into shaving ounces, because he's done so many through hikes and long distance hiking. And he was very kind with all of us who had too much weight.
And we did do a couple pack shakedowns.
We did a pack shake. We did one for the Green Monster pack, and that was fun.
Oh, boy.
We were like, he was. I felt like he was Mary Poppins. He kept pulling stuff out of his thing. We were dying, so that was great. And so I think he learned a lot from that. And then myself, I've spent 200 miles shaving as much as I can off, but they did bust me for my LL Bean dot kit. They just said, "What are you doing with this giant dot kit?" I have, toothbrush and toothpaste in it, basically.
It's like a medical kit / overnight kit / something that I would carry maybe if I was going on a cruise or something like that. So we had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah. And I got a little heat. I got a little grief on my chair, but I'm like, look, I'm a woman of a certain age, and there were no places to sit the other night, and I proved my point. So my chair weighs less than a pound, so we're good to go. But yeah, we learned a lot about gear. We learned about the mental aspect of it too. There's a mental. Okay, so through hikers, they have to have a mental state of mind. They get off trail, they reset, just like we do. We just reset a little bit longer, and to be able to get out there and know that you can do certain things, like when you were looking at a long steep climb, that you go, how on earth does anybody ever do this? And you just got to do it because no one's coming to get you.
Yeah.
Right. That was a big, they were like, you put one foot in front of the other and you just have to do it. So I think the mental aspect, even for me. So I know from my experience that I have about 3 nights in me. And then I need to get off the trail. That's why I section hike. I could hike through every 3 nights, but it would take me, 10 months? I don't even know. It would take me a year and a half to through hike. But so I find that you find your type of hiking and you listen to the through hikers, what they've done. And it can really be tough on them. And just like you, if you like to go longer, maybe you'll do a 7-day stretch, or come off, or you do it differently where you'll come off and stay in your truck or hard camp. And then, everybody has a way to do it. And I'm learning that from you. So section hikers should definitely come to this weekend to learn about how you can do it. I want to section hike the Whites. That's one of the reasons I came here. I want to do it in little tiny sections, and I'm going to stay up there in New Hampshire because I'm from Alabama, but do it when I can do it.
With the day pack.
With the day, exactly.
Yes.
And there's a way to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can get through the Whites with a day pack.
Yeah.
And, with one overnight, either,
Right.
At a designated campsite at the Whites, or you can go the Platinum Blazing route and go from hut to hut. And we don't know where we're going to be next summer with the huts, because we're not sure what the AMC is going to do with allowing people to stay with the whole COVID. But there are different strategies and ways to section hike. Like right now, we are at Woods Hole. I'm actually sleeping in the back of my truck. We've got tents all around. You can pay to stay in the cabin at Woods Hole. But this is a perfect place to base camp, as I call it. Mm-hmm. You can leave your vehicle here. You can use Don, the shuttle driver, and he can take you up the trail. You can hike back south and then have an amazing dinner and a wonderful breakfast the next morning. And then you can have Don shuttle you again. You can go south and hike north back to Woods Hole. And it's an awesome weekend. Yeah. And you've touched White Blazes. And you've been on the Appalachian Trail. And you've gotten an experience by staying at Woods Hole. Or you could start at Weary Feet, which is, the 16 miles south from here. Make your way to Woods Hole, work your way up to Angel's Rest Hostel, and kind of go north from there. And I think, Machelle, you as a section hiker kind of thought you were doing that before, but then you like, hey, I can maybe do this up the entire trail.
Right. Keep doing it up the trail. And the more that you learn from other section hikers of sections they've done that you have no clue about will be very effective too, because you've done the whole trail in sections. And that's so invaluable for a lot of people. So the more section hikers, I think, that look at a through hike as several sections and talk to these people and talk to yourself, I think it's going to be good. And another thing too is the mental aspect of it. I know section hikers like you who can go out for 7 days and they can handle it, versus myself, where I've learned my limit. Someone pushed me to 5 and I was like, this ain't working out for me. I'm selling all my equipment. I'm going to get on Facebook Marketplace. I'm done. But then I get back into it. So.
And here's one thing I will confess. And this is where, even though Machelle and I are section hikers, this is where we're a little bit different. I have not had a shower since I left my house Thursday morning. And Machelle, how about you?
Yeah. So I got a shower, but there's a shower house here, and it has been in the 30s and the 40s. And so that stressed me out a little bit. I am from the South. And so I did get a shower inside the house. It was very nice of them to do that for me.
And now I can make fun of her, but
she's
that's okay too.
So. I have clean hair and clean, yeah. And she's making fun of me a little bit. So,
and I'm trying to stay in the wave. I did brush my teeth this morning, so because I knew we were gonna be having a chat. So what is your, and this might be a tough question. What is your biggest takeaway, or maybe a couple takeaways from this weekend? And would you come back again? Do you think?
Yeah. Well, what brings me back again is Woods Hole. I'll tell you that right now, because this is a beautiful place. I may come back here when I'm not in the Woods Hole weekend for sure. For sure. It's too beautiful to give up.
And we're still looking at the sunrise. Yes.
Looking at sunrise and the landscape, and it's just lovely. I mean, I could see come back again because the group of people might be different. And I think probably as COVID starts to wane some and we can get a larger group, there'll be more questions that you can have. My friend who hikes with me, Sarah Brown, not related, she has been texting me questions because she's like, don't forget to ask them this because we're curious about this. Ask her this. So she's been texting me a few questions. And so that's been nice because I didn't think about that because it's more of a concern for her. And then I go, yeah, man, we were talking about that. We didn't have that information. So that's been interesting. So more perspective, I think, would be good if you came back again and maybe a couple of times. But yeah, I just on your podcast, I would highly recommend that any section hikers at least look at attending a weekend. Maybe they'll do it twice a year.
And I think we're looking into that. Mm-hmm. So, just to kind of wrap things up, you know how I kind of like to end the podcast with, the guest signing off with a quote, I know I put you on the spot again, a quote, a statement, or just maybe a reflection of, here, I'll put you on the spot. What are you going to say to your husband or somebody at home about this weekend? So leave us with that.
Ooh, that's tough. Yeah. I mean, I feel like too, it's not all just about all the information that we gathered. It's about the peacefulness and the tranquility of the place that we're staying and the beauty of the people that we had here, the perspectives that they gave and the insights of their trail stories. Like when we sat around the fire and they told trail stories of trail angels and things that happened to them, the serendipity. I think a lot of that, when you hike, it's kind of, you got to just do it on your own and make your own mistakes and find the answers to your questions. But I think leaving here, I realized that the trail gives you something back. And every time I get frustrated with it and I don't want to go and it's too cold and it's too wet and it's all this, I go back to these stories around the campfire that are amazing. Just amazing stories like where people have crossed each other on the trail after not seeing each other for 500 miles and getting rescued off the trail. You had a great story. Jester has an amazing story about the way that things happen for her on an injury situation. And just, I think that's what it is. I learned more about what the trail can give you. The other stuff, your packing, your gear, your weight, all that stuff, your days you're going and your path are something you have to work out on your own. But I guess the trail is going to give you back something every single time you go. I take headphones every time I go. I finally quit taking them because I never put them in. I'm watching my steps. I'm in my own head and I'm listening to nature and the waterfall we're listening to right now. And, I think that's it. I think the trail gives you what you need when you come here for a reason. And I think that reason is just to, feel nature and relax. And wait for the trail to do it for you.
I can't think of any better way to end this. I really appreciate you taking, and we are enjoying coffee here at Woods Hole. I'm not going to end this because I have another question, okay. Machelle. We also have Tina from Quarterway Inn, hostel owner, and she has been giving some invaluable. I can't leave this podcast without talking about what we've also learned from business owners on the trail. Right.
Tina
from Quarterway Inn. And of course, Neville So we will end with your insight on, and last night we heard them talk from a hostel owner perspective. So give your insight on that.
Yeah. They were able to tell us about the business aspect of it, but the family aspect of it. And they have you don't realize it especially someone like me who works all week, and we get out here, we only are out here for a week or two. And they have a network of people, they have a family of people, and they run these businesses on word of mouth and good reviews, and they take care of you when they come in. And the stories that they told about saving hikers off the trail, getting them back on the trail when they were ready to quit. So they do more than just provide a bed and a meal for you. They do counseling and spiritual stuff. And it's just, I feel like, use the hostels, use the shuttle drivers that are connected, and you call the hospital and they say, who would you use? And they'll tell you exactly who to use, and the guy that's been doing it for 20 years versus an Uber driver. So, connect with the hostel owners, connect with the people down here, because they're just amazing people to run these places and see a different human being every single night coming through, or maybe somebody stays a couple of nights because they can't take it anymore. But and they get them back on the trail, and they refuel them. They give them the spirit back. They give them their reason for hiking back, and I feel like I just feel like it's less of a hotel situation and more of a family situation in hospital. Do you think?
I think so.
I said hospital.
Hostel. Yeah, yes, and I totally agree. And Machelle, thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm just going to go ahead and say, you guys, I'm going to ask Machelle to turn to her left, because not only do we have the sunrise, but now we have three pigs that we are looking at that have awakened. They've come out to their little trail that they've created in their little path. And happy section hiking, everybody. Thanks, Machelle.
Thank you so much, Jester. It's been great.
Thanks, Machelle, for sharing with us your views and takeaways as a section hiker from our first Woods Hole weekend. I really look forward to seeing where this weekend goes as far as future sessions and expanding to more than once a year if all goes well. As I close this week's podcast, please go take a look at the show notes for this episode, which can be found on our Hiking Radio Network website at hikingradionetwork.com. The show notes include all of the information about the presenters and those three amazing hostels. Thanks for listening, everybody, and as always, happy section hiking.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. wondering if you'd come wandering my way. If you ever get lost, or if the trail leads you astray, the music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. Round up the troops, and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets in these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/get100 and use code GET100. That's code GET100 at prizepicks.com/get100 for a first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy.